Hello everybody, nice to have you here. Welcome to the first video of the series of videos I plan to do about the Adobe Builder basics development. I already made a lot of videos about Adobe Builder, about use cases, how you can apply it, different features overview and the technical deep dives also. But today I want to focus on something very basics, because even for me, who working with a builder quite a lot, it was quite interesting to research and go to the root levels of everything, how a builder works. And if you're new to Adobe Builder itself, then I will recommend you, and you're welcome to watch one of the previous videos when I'm explaining what the Adobe Builder is. In this series of videos I will not talk about this, and we will go directly to the practice, and we will start with a small hello world, how to create an actions, how to create in single page applications, which features Adobe Builder has, and I want to go step by step with everything. So you rather will see not me, but my screen, and we will go and we will do everything together. So, and as I said, let's start with the first basics, and we even will not touch the code. I will directly show you the Adobe Appbuilder console interface. So that's a space where you create in your applications, and if you want to start with Adobe Builder development, you start not with the code usually, you start with setting up your local environment, and you start with creating the application itself. So we will start with interface today, and as for interface, you have this nice overview, and here you can create a new project. As you see, already has a bunch of projects created. You can make a new one. You have to choose Adobe Builder template, and then you define in your name, and let's call it Adobe App Builder Learning Module. App name is up to you, but this name then will be used for the URLs and so on. By default, you have the production and staging workspace. You can add another workspaces also. And you need to include the runtime, because the runtime is everything, so basically the computing power behind your application, which will work and which will execute your business logic. And after you will click save, that's your module is ready to be used. For sure, you usually, and in most cases, you need to write the code for it. But there are also the use cases when you don't need to write the code for it, and you can just use it straight away. What I want to go through the sum of the feature sets around, and yeah, let's deep dive. So in our extension, we have just a project overview here. When you see your environments, you always will start to see here some icons depend on the services you're starting to use. You can delete and you can edit the project, and you can add a new environments. Let's say if you need a development, you can create the new environment. Let's go back. And yeah, and that's it. And here from this page, you can jump to any workspace you want to. So for example, we will go to staging, and you will see the staging overview. And here on the left side, you will see the section with all services, events, and everything you add into your application. So in standard, when you create in the application, you have it quite clean, and it's just an interface or cover for everything you will do in behind. You can define the new APIs and events. APIs is everything which is Adobe providing for you to use. So it's all services which connected around the different functionalities you can use, not only related to commerce stuff, for example, but also to all other Adobe services if you want to build something or some application which working with those services together. Because as you can see, you have analytics here, Adobe Commerce quite a lot, some assurance API, experience platform APIs, frame AIO API, and so on. It's everything which Adobe provides, and you can use it. You will see here usually everything which is available to you only. You can also see all of them, but if you don't have an access to those services, you will not be able to use them. Then also you can add an events. So in this case, you subscribe into different type of events which been executed within the whole your infrastructure within your organization. And we will come to this page, to this topic when we will start to work with Adobe Commerce events. And at this point, that's it. So you created your application, you created your coverage. Now you need to start to do something with it. So you need to initialize your code. One important point, you need to host your code somewhere on your own version control. After you deploy it, the code is for sure deployed on a runtime and being executed there. So you don't need to take care about the hosting and all this stuff, but you need to take care about the repositories. And if you want to, and you have to maintain your code, making updates, build a normal development workflow, you need to bring your GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, whatever else infrastructure you want to use. So now let's switch to the local setup. So most of the time, despite your IDE, you will spend in your terminal. And for this one, you need to install Adobe AIO CLI. So there's documentation. I will link all documentation then after in a description of this video. You have to install AIO CLI, and that's it. It will provide a bunch of the commands which will allow you to work with Adobe. So I have it already installed, and if you run AIO, you will see the list of commands which is available for you. You also can install the different plugins, for example, API Mesh plugin, which will add me the new command, or the database storage, or whatever else. At this point, we focus on the basics. So for the first lesson, you just need Adobe AIO to be installed, and that's the way you can start to work with. So when you're working with Adobe AIO, it's working in the scope of your account. To find out where are you currently located, because you theoretically can be assigned to different Adobe organizations. So you may have one Adobe account, but account can be assigned to different organizations. For example, client 1, client 2, client 3, and so on. And when you're working with the CLI, you need to be in the scope of one of the organizations, not in multiple, because when you're doing the changes, you push them to particular organization, usually. For that, you can use AIO where command, which will show you the current location like this. And if you're doing it the first time, you will high probably be forwarded to the login page. So what I will do, I will log out just to show the whole process. So that's like two mostly used commands in the whole this setup. It's AIO logout and AIO login. When you do login, you've been redirected to the login page for sure. So after you log in, I mean, for me, I was already in scope of my organization, so I should not select. So let's say differently. I was logged in browser. When you're logged in browser and you've been redirected to login in browser, for sure it will take your browser session and will use it for logging you in. So there is another video which quite important in scope of working with multiple customers, and I will recommend to watch it because you may be confused if you start to have multiple customers and you need somehow to work with them correctly. So after being logged in, I can use AIO where, and I believe nothing changed because I'm still logged in. So you have another most used commands. It's AIO Console org select, which will provide you the list of organizations to be selected. Usually it's only one because, as I said, when you log in, you're logged in the scope of the company. Then you can, or you have to select the project, and in our case, we will select the project that we just created. AIO Console project select. So I selected my Adobe Appbuilder learning module, and then AIO Console workspace select. And I choose, for example, the staging environment. So, okay, at this point, we are now locked in and we're in scope of our organization and our project and our environment. So everything we will do now with Adobe Builder will be in scope of this particular environment. So if you follow the Adobe standard Adobe a builder documentation, how to start to work with, it will recommend you and will propose you to use command which is called AIO appbuilder. This command will initialize the template project, which will contain one single page application, one backend action, and give you the possibility basically to see the basic template of the module, like how the module can be built. But it's not something you always have to use. I will explain why. Because the idea of this session, which we are doing today, is to understand how Adobe Builder works and what you need to know to be able to start with it. When AIO appbuilder command being executed, it will provide you a set of the JavaScript files, pre-generated code, also test coverage, which is already deprecated a bit, and all other stuff which you don't know what to do with if you're a new one. Then I very often saw that then when the extension going into the production, they still have a lot of stuff which been pre-generated and been never cleaned up. So what I want to do today, I want to build on the first session the single Hello World application that you can see how to work with a builder in basics. So we will skip this command for today. Okay, so let's switch to our code. I have here the pure clean folder with 0 data inside. So we are in scope of Adobe Builder, so we're working with JavaScript, NPM packages, means I need the package.json. The package.json contains quite basic setup, so I will copy paste it. Sorry, just to save your time. We can clean up. So we have the new module where you define in the module name. Let's call it the builder extension, whatever. Define in the version, then you define in the dependency. That's the only dependency you have to do. It's adobeio SDK. And then you also recommended define the node version you would run to. So I would starting from already version 22, because when you submit in the module to Adobe Commerce Marketplace, this is a minimum version it's have to work with. And this version is the latest at the moment of recording this video, so this may change. So we have our first package.json. Let's do npm install, and it will install all dependency which have to be in this module. So that's one point. When you work it locally, you first create in your set of the files, do it in npm install, and then you not doing git push. You for sure have to do it, but to be able to create a new builder application, you have to do AIO app deploy, like a basic command that will run the deployment. In this case, it will fail by the reason there are no configuration for Adobe Builder. So what we just created, we created just a package, and there for sure the file missing, and means let's go forward. So as the next steps, for sure when I run the AIO deploy, it didn't know what to deploy and where to deploy really, because there's no information about the module itself. The required file for your Adobe Builder application is an environment file. But when you create it from scratch, there is like a pattern, what's have to be there, and to basically pull the environment file from the application you just created to link your code with the application to the Adobe Builder console, you have to do AIO app use. Then it will ask you which module you want to use. And in our case, as we already logged in and we already selected everything, we just hit an enter. And it's creating the environment file with runtime, namespace, API host, and service APK, which you don't need here. And then you have Adobe AIO workspace configuration. So in this case, we already have 4 files, right? Then to be able to work with application, you need to register your extension. And for that, you need to create file called app.config YAML. And as we on the first lesson, we want to build just a hello world page. So just a plain HTML page. It's enough just to say an application, define the WebSRC and action folders, even if you don't have any actions in the first step. We need to have this in the configuration file. So we need just this app config. Let's try now what will happen if we will do deploy. It will fail, but let's check. Right, so it's still failing. Good. Then what we want to do, we just want to build our index.html file. For that, as we define here, the web is located in a web.src folder, so we create a web.src folder. In this folder, we do an index.html. And here we add in our index.html file. Doc type, head, body, hello world, Adobe Builder without React Spectrum for now. So we have Adobe Builder application. Yes, awesome. And we have hello world. That's it. I would say now is the time when we want to deploy our module to see if everything works correctly. And it's done. So it was quite fast. What it's doing, it just deployed one static asset, which is your HTML file, nothing else coming in. And in the end, you're receiving two URLs. One URL is the direct link to the application itself, and we have our hello world application here. It's already deployed on Adobe. It's hosted, running in Adobe infrastructure. There is also another one, which is run under the Adobe AIO Console. As you can see, you wrapped here into the Adobe AIO header, and then you have your application inside. We will touch it on the next lessons also. But why is it done? It's done by the reason that in case if you want to be authorized and you want to validate that the user who accesses this application has an access to do particular actions with it, you would rather run it within the console, because then you have a scope of your application. And yes, we have our application running. Now you can start to build your HTML on top of it, display some more content, and so on and so on. So add in the new functionality and work with it further. That's it for the first lesson today. There one more add-on to the command we just used. So let's make some change. Usually when you do an AIO app deploy command, it will deploy the whole application for you. In case if you change in just an HTML, for example, so we're not touching yet the backend logic, and we will touch it in the next lesson. But as we change in just an HTML, you usually don't need to redeploy the whole application. You just need to redeploy the web src folder. For that, you can use add-on which called no actions, which will deploy only the front-end part of your application, and you will save a lot of time if you would do this one instead of just doing the pure redeploy. And if you open the URL, you will see your changes here. Yes, that's it for this session. If you want to move forward with the next steps, on the next one, we will talk about the backend actions. So see you there. Bye-bye.